everyone. My name is Ghiman Mckinney, or you can just call me Juice, because that is my nickname. I am having a hard time understanding why people do not embrace Wisconsin's running back, Jonathan Taylor. He's going to be entering the 2020 NFL Draft, and in my eyes, he is by far, and it's not even close in my opinion, he's by far the best running back in this draft class. And no one, and I repeat, no one is going to change my mind on this topic. No one. All right? And I do believe this running back class is pretty deep. I like a lot of these running backs in this draft class. I think that J.K. Dobbins has very good vision. I watched him a lot at Ohio State. He took over some games. You know, he's very good. He can catch passes. He can do it all. Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of LSU, very good running back. Cam Akers did not have the greatest offensive line in college. He still performed very well from time to time, and DeAndre Swift is a very good do-it-all running back. I like a lot of these running backs, but Jonathan Taylor, to me, is the clear-cut best running back in this draft class, and I'll tell you why. In my eyes, he's the best running back since Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott. This guy is 230 pounds, okay? He has a rare combination of size, quickness, elusiveness, agility, vision, and breakaway speed. This guy is just physically different as far as evaluating all these running backs. He's the guy that when you just watch the tape and you watch him play in college, he was different. He was the guy that took over a bunch of these games. He's the guy that single-handedly won his team's games, okay? At Wisconsin, Jonathan Taylor was the Wisconsin offense. Wisconsin does not have an NFL quarterback, unlike Ohio State did with Dwayne Haskins and Justin Fields, or like LSU had with Joe Burrow and Cam Akers. You know, I understand that he had to deal with a bad offensive line, but he's not as physically gifted as a running back as Jonathan Taylor. And DeAndre Swift, he had a bunch of talent around him as well, okay? He had a great offensive line, you know, all that good stuff, all right? See, Jonathan Taylor, everyone knew that the ball was going to be handed to him every single time in Wisconsin's offense. Wisconsin ran their entire offense through this guy. Teams knew what was coming, and they still could not stop Jonathan Taylor. Guys, I watched this guy a bunch of times in college. I've watched several games, and I gotta tell you something. He's been on primetime TV a lot. You know, Wisconsin was in a lot of big-time games during his time in school. I watched a ton of Wisconsin football, and I can only remember one time in Jonathan Taylor's entire career at Wisconsin of him having what I deem a bad game by his standards. You know, this past season at Ohio State, he only had 20 carries for 52 yards. And then, guess what? He rebounded. He responded versus that same defense that has a ton of NFL players on that defense. That Ohio State defensive line was arguably the best defensive line in the country. They're the best player in the country that's going to be entering the NFL draft in Chase Young. Very good secondary. I mean, that defense was loaded with a bunch of talent. Very good speed at linebacker that Ohio State had. And Jonathan Taylor, once again, carried that Wisconsin offense. Now, they lost the game because Ohio State's a better team, but he ran for $148 on 20 carries. I mean, this guy, he's just a stud. I cannot find a bad game Jonathan Taylor had at Wisconsin. I mean, I can only find about 2 or 3 examples. I really can't find any bad games. That game at Ohio State's about the only bad game that he actually played in his entire career at Wisconsin. This guy carried an entire offense. You guys have to understand the degree of difficulty that Jonathan Taylor had to go through in order to get those yards. Wisconsin did not have elite wide receivers at any point when he was in school. Did not have elite tight ends at any point when he was in school. There's not first and second round talent at the wide receiver position at Wisconsin. It's just not. That's not what they're known for, okay? They did not have an NFL quarterback. They don't have a quarterback that's going to be drafted within the first, 2 or 3 rounds. Jake Fromm is probably going to be drafted at some point in this NFL draft, maybe in round number 3 or 4. Justin Fields and Dwayne Haskins, they're going to be first-round picks. Dwayne Haskins already a first-round pick, when J.K. Dobbins was there a couple years ago. And then this past season, J.K. Dobbins had, Justin Fields as his quarterback. Justin Fields is definitely going to be a first-round pick next year. And Joe Burrow is great. Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in college football history. As far as the season he put together, he had the greatest college football season of all time. So when you look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, outside of Cam Akers, all these elite running backs had it much easier than Jonathan Taylor. they were not the focal point of their offense. Jonathan Taylor was the focal point of Wisconsin's offense. Teams knew Wisconsin was going to run the ball, and it did not matter if you stacked the box. It didn't matter what you did. Unless you had Ohio State level players on the side of your defense, Jonathan Taylor was going to dominate. Jonathan Taylor was going to run over your linebackers. He was going to outrun your defensive backs. He was going to take over games, okay? You could not stop this man. You just couldn't. I don't understand why people are not giving Jonathan Taylor so much more love. I understand that he's not the best at catching passes out the backfield, but was Adrian Peterson ever really great at catching passes out of the backfield? What about Derrick Henry? What about Ezekiel Elliott? Those guys, I prefer them to just run in between the tackles. Let me see what they're good at, all right? If they're elite at that, I don't care. And Jonathan Taylor is elite at running the football in between the tackles, and I do believe he has the speed and the capacity to be a guy that's involved in the passing game. You know, Wisconsin just doesn't throw him the football much in the passing game. He was not asked to do a whole lot in the passing game, just as far as, you know, catching passes out of the backfield. So again, maybe he can translate to being a great pass catcher in the NFL, but that's not what he was asked to do, and that's not his strength. I don't care that DeAndre Swift is a much more complete running back than Jonathan Taylor. I don't care. All right, I don't care that J.K. Dobbins is a little bit more complete. They don't equal Jonathan Taylor. They will not equal his level of production at the next level. And I do believe Jonathan Taylor should be the first running back taken off the board. If you're looking for a running back, or potentially a running back to draft in the first round, personally, I don't think a lot of running backs are going to get drafted in the first round this year. I actually will be shocked if a running back is taken in the first round. You know, DeAndre Swift is the one guy that's getting first round buzz. So again, if I had to guess, there's probably going to be only one running back taken in the first round this upcoming draft for a couple reasons. Number one, teams do not value running backs, okay? Number two, there's not a Saquon Barkley or an Ezekiel Elliott in this draft. Except I think that Jonathan Taylor is right behind that tier. He's probably not going to be on Zeke's level or Barkley's level, but he's very close. He's right there. And if I want a running back, I'm taking Jonathan Taylor 9 times out of 10 because this guy showed up in big games when he was the focal point of the offense and teams knew that the ball was going to be handed to him and he still produced, guys. You just can't stop this man. He has the ability to just take over games. When he's gone, when you give him a little bit of a crease, you know, up the middle, if you give him just the slice of a hole, he can burst right through that thing and take it 60 or 70 yards to the house. This guy has legit 4.3 speed. Imagine a 230-pound running back running right at you with 4.3 speed. That's Adrian Peterson level type stuff to me right there, man. And listen, I believe Jonathan Taylor is very similar to Adrian Peterson coming out of college. You know, I believe they're a generational talent at that position. Now, a lot of people, for whatever reason, are just not giving Jonathan Taylor the buzz they deserve and the recognition that he deserves because the running back position has died because Derrick Henry can't even get a long-term extension. And I understand why, because running backs don't win Super Bowls. I mean, you look at the Patriots, they run a running back by committee set. The Eagles did the same thing, and they won a Super Bowl. And I look at Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees, they got Super Bowl rings, and who is their running back? So I understand that side of things, but either way, man, you know, I think that Adrian Peterson and Jonathan Taylor are very similar to each other. The one knock that people always had on, you know, Adrian Peterson was he doesn't really catch passes out of the backfield. Oh, okay, that's fine. Guess what? He won an NFL MVP in an era where Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees and Peyton Manning were all in their prime, along with Tom Brady. I'll take that any day of the week. I believe Jonathan Taylor can provide a Derrick Henry type impact to some NFL franchise. I don't know what team's going to draft him because personally, I see a bunch of running backs all over these boards. I see some people, you know, mocking, J.K. Dobbins as the best running back in football. Not football, in the NFL draft. I see some people saying that DeAndre Swift is. Some people saying that Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I disagree with all that. You know, Jonathan Taylor is that guy. And again, I'm going to address Cam Akers one more time. Again, Cam Akers, I believe he's going to be a stud at the next level. He did not have a great offensive line at Florida State, but he does not have the same ability to run the football, and he doesn't have the same explosiveness and the same amount of power and the same ability to take over games as one Jonathan Taylor. That is why I have Jonathan Taylor above Cam Akers. Now, I don't know who's the second best running back in this class. I probably would lean toward J.K. Dobbins because of his vision, because of his ability to catch passes out of the backfield, and because of what he did at Ohio State. But Jonathan Taylor is number one, and it's not even close, guys. And again, going back to Adrian Peterson, Like I said, the one knock was he doesn't catch passes out of the backfield. He kind of fumbles a lot. That's the one problem Jonathan Taylor kind of had at Wisconsin. He does need to work on his fumbling. And I will admit, the fact that he had a big-time workload at Wisconsin could really hinder him in the NFL. You know, some players come into the NFL that don't get a whole lot of carries in college. They're much more fresher. They last longer. So that is a concern for me. But I'm willing to take that risk. I really am. And Jonathan Taylor, he broke Adrian Peterson's rushing record as a freshman. I mean, this guy, let's look at his stats. I'm not a big-time numbers guy, but for all you fantasy football crap people that just love to look at a bunch of numbers on a box score to determine how good players are, let me just give you some numbers to back up my stats. I'm sorry, not back up my stats, back up my argument, because I do believe these stats are justified based on what I'm saying, because the stats do not lie with Jonathan Taylor, okay? In 2017, his freshman season, just short of 2,000 yards, 1,977 yards, 6.6 yards per carry, 13 tubs, okay? 13 touchdowns, all right? 2018, 2,194 yards, 7.1 yards per carry, 16 touchdowns. 2019, his final season, just over 2,000 yards, 6.3 yards per carry, and 21 touchdowns, all right? This guy's a stud. This guy broke Adrian Peterson's rushing record as a true freshman at Wisconsin. I don't think Jonathan Taylor will ever quite reach Adrian Peterson's level, but I see the same ability of Jonathan Taylor to take over games similar to Adrian Peterson. And similar to Adrian Peterson, I believe he can actually carry an offense. You know, I saw Adrian Peterson carry Christian Ponder to the playoffs in the NFL. Christian Ponder. He carried Christian Ponder to the playoffs. Adrian Peterson had a rare combination of agility, sudden quickness, breakaway speed, and power. And I see that with Jonathan Taylor. And I gotta say, man, you know, Adrian Peterson, he won an NFL MVP. You know, I don't think Jonathan Taylor will ever win an NFL MVP. It's going to be a while till a running back wins an NFL MVP just because the running back position is kind of dead in today's NFL. I mean, if Christian McCaffrey can't get some MVP votes from this past season, I know his team didn't win a whole lot, but either way, you know, I just really think the running backs, they're not going to win MVPs anymore. Those days are over. Adrian Peterson might be the last running back ever to win an MVP just because it's such a quarterback-driven league nowadays, and people are just plugging in running backs. Now, I will say this. I'm not saying you have to draft Jonathan Taylor in the first round, because I'm not big on running backs, okay? You can find Jonathan Taylor in the second round. If you can get him in the second round, do it, because I don't think running backs are justified by being picked in the top, 30 picks, in the first round, unless you know for sure they're Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley, or Adrian Peterson. I do think that Jonathan Taylor is very close, and I will not be mad if you take him in the first round. Just as far as my cup of tea, the way the running back position has gone down the past couple years, I'm not picking a running back in the first round. But I gotta tell you something right now. Jonathan Taylor is being disrespected by a mile, okay? He's being mad disrespected, and I do believe he is by far, 100% without a doubt, the best running back in the 2020 NFL draft, and he will change the franchise and become one of the best running backs in the NFL when he gets a shot at the next level. Be sure to comment where you agree with me and disagree with me. Love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juice Alert Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I currently am a freshman there right now. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big-time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.